Hi everyone, Andy Skoogman, Executive Director of the Minnesota Chiefs of Police Association, along with Chief Jeff Potts from Bloomington, the chair of our legislative committee. The legislative session wrapped up in late May, and we had significant progress at the legislature this year. We worked with the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, and the Post Board to increase funding, the reimbursement dollars, training dollars back to local agencies. And Chief, talk a little bit about what that increase is and the mandated training around it.
Sure. So as you said, we made some significant progress in increasing the funding that comes back to local agencies. The number that police departments are reimbursed in 2016 is approximately $320 per officer. With this legislation and moving forward in 2018, that number will go from, like I said, $320 to just under $1,000 per officer per year. In exchange for that increased funding, there are some new mandates. There are 16 new continuing ed credits that will be required during the licensing cycle. But I want to be clear, that's not 16 additional. The requirement for renewing your post-license remains at 48 hours or 48 continuing ed credits every 3 years. That does not change. What does change is there's required training in these three areas: crisis intervention and mental illness crisis, conflict management and mediation, and recognizing and valuing community diversity and cultural awareness. Each officer will be required to have 16 CEs over the licensing period in those three areas. As many of our chiefs know, there's only two required trainings currently. That is annual use of force training, and every 5 years you're required to have emergency vehicle training, 8 hours of emergency vehicle training every 5 years. So these additional mandates are in addition to those. It's up to the chief to figure out, or up to the agency to figure out how to train those three areas. The post will require at least one continuing ed credit in each of the three areas. And what we're suggesting that cities do is look at their use of force training, their current use of force curriculum, and incorporate some of these new mandates into that use of force training. And so in essence, you'll be just kind of re-engineering your use of force training. And in some ways, you'll get credit for these new, these newly mandated areas of training. Concepts like de-escalation and other kind of mental health training ideas have been talked about for a few years, and really this is just kind of formalizing that and bringing it forward as some required training, again in exchange for tripling of the post training and reimbursement fund for our officers throughout the state.
In addition to the new mandates and the new money, in the bill there's also money for the Pathways to Policing program, and this is a program that reimburses local agencies for hiring second career individuals. I know that it's important to you. Talk about what Pathways to Policing is.
Starting in 2019, there is $400,000 appropriated to help agencies hire police officers in what we kind of call as a non-traditional hiring process. Help establish processes that will allow you to bring in possibly more diversity, individuals who are coming into law enforcement as a second career, and these funds can be used to pay for the training costs for them to bridge over into law enforcement. It can also be used to pay their salary while they're in training. And we think the $400,000 a year will go a long way in helping agencies do some of the things that we just talked about. Bring people in and set. There's kind of a pilot program going on right now. There's about 7 cities participating. 14 police officers are attending courses at Hennepin Tech. There will be no reimbursement for this because it doesn't technically qualify for the legislation, but we feel pretty successful, and so far that we had over 500 applicants, all of which were either second career folks, or there's a tremendous amount of diversity, high quality candidates. All 14 of those cadets are now in training at Hennepin Tech, and that's the kind of program that we'd like to see happen on an annual basis, allow more cities to have an opportunity to be a part of it. It's not specific to the metro area, it's statewide. Anybody who wants to participate in a program is certainly able to do that, and there will be, as I mentioned, legislatively appropriated funding to help reimburse them for some portion of those costs.
One other success at the legislature this year was a bill increasing the penalties for those who impersonate police officers. Can you talk about that bill and what that means?
There was some awareness of some issues in certain parts of the state, in fact, large areas of the state, where there were some incidents involving people impersonating police officers. And we were able to kind of shore up the penalties for that, some enhancements to the increasing some offenses from misdemeanor to gross misdemeanor. And for those who have a history of convictions, there's now a felony charge for that based on previous convictions at the gross misdemeanor level.
Chief, thanks for your time today. Thanks for the work that you've done the last few years as the chair of the Legislative Committee.
Thanks, Andy. It was my pleasure.
Now, for more information on the 21st Century Policing Platform, that is the training bill, and on the officer impersonation bill, check out our website, mnchiefs.org.